Hi, my name is Paul Palmer, and if you haven't seen me before, I'm part of the pharmaceutical industry. I've been a consultant for over 10 years now. I've been in the industry since 1986, which I make 36 years. So I put over 35 because I didn't want to work out. So if you're a head of quality or a pharmaceutical head of quality, does it surprise you when everybody asks, what's the answer? If they get stuck, they come to you and they say, what's the answer? How do we deal with this? I found over the last, I would say since the mid-90s, whenever somebody got stuck with the work they were doing, whenever they didn't know how to go to the next stage with the manufacturing that they're doing, whenever they got stuck because something was out of spec or you didn't quite know what to do next, the first step is always to ask quality, which, okay, as part of the quality team, I have most of the time been in a position to either know the answer or to know where to get it. But to me, that reminds me that you need to work as a team. And the best way that a team can operate well is if they work together. And to work together, they must understand what's expected. They need to understand that the other person does this part of the job and they do that part of the job. If they don't have the training, if they don't have the knowledge, if they don't have the communication channels open, and I do mean communication, I don't just mean sending an email, then how are they going to know who to ask for the right answer? Who's going to know how to fix a problem? I'll give you an example. If you've got an out of spec, maybe you're manufacturing a sterile product, you've got an out of spec on your environmental trend data, and you're in operations probably, and you've got this result coming back and it says, yeah, you've got an out of spec. What do? Well, you go ask quality, don't you? Why? Because they're the ones that know what to do next. But isn't it written down in your procedure what you do next? If it's too high out of spec, we always used to say, well, the first step is to go and clean it. Well, isn't that obvious? But when I was in microbiology for 6 years, every time we got contamination in a process, they came to ask us, well, what do we do next? Our answer was always the same: clean it. So why do you need to go and ask quality if they give the same answer every time? It always confounds me. So if you're a head of quality and you're working with your team, are you insisting that the other departments, if they've got a problem, come and talk to your team if they ask quality? Is that what your procedures say? Often it does. And I found that when I was looking, the first step in the process, let quality know. Not ask them for the answer, but let quality know. And that often I found was interpreted as ask quality what to do next, not make sure quality is aware of it. So if you're in a department that actually knows the answer, why shouldn't you be going to quality and saying, well, this is what we need to do next, and they just endorse it? And I think it's a bit of a culture change. I think it's not only to do with the way that the other departments operate, and not just the way operations operate, but I think it's often to do with the way that the SOPs are set up. The standardization is, if you don't know what to do, go for the default, ask quality, and we can work it out. But what it should be a lot of the time is actually updating the SOP to give the scenarios. Now, like you can see, I've got behind me Academy of Pharmaceutical Excellence. Well, that's my startup. And I've decided to start doing more training because a lot of the time people don't understand why they're doing something. And it's because there's a tendency to do what the regulators want and demonstrate that you've done your GMP training, demonstrate that you've done your GDP training, on an annual basis, but not necessarily enhance the performance or the skills or the knowledge of the team. So what I want to do instead, I want to change the way that the industry approaches development. I want to look at how that can be improved, how it can be enhanced. Now, I know some people in the quality departments, some people in quality will say, well, we can't do that. We can't have people making their own decisions. Well, you can. I've done it. When it's a set scenario, instead of raising a deviation, you document it and it comes procedure. Yeah, you might have to do it through change control, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. When you're head of quality, you're leading the team and you're defining what's required. But make sure you've got the budget that you need. You make sure that you give the people that work for you the basic minimum, and then the next level, and then the next level, and build on the skills, build on the knowledge base. Because it's the only way that they're going to be improving. And once the quality team are understanding that it's not necessarily always their job, then, and somebody else might know the answer. Well, if it's already predefined and you've done it 10 times before and you've given them the same answer every time, well, they should know the answer. And the procedure should say, if this happens, do this. Not, if this happens, ask quality. Yeah, maybe you need to notify quality because they need to be involved and they need to take the next stage and take their actions even, maybe. But that doesn't mean something goes wrong, ask quality, then think about it. It means something goes wrong, think about it, make sure the right person's involved, or people, or team, or cross-functional team even. Then investigate in depth what's next. And maybe the ones outside of quality will have to do some research and some number crunching. And maybe those within quality will as well. Maybe they'll help them. Maybe they'll work together. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing for me in the pharmaceutical industry, if you don't learn anything else from all the things that I share on this LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube, to me, the biggest thing to learn is work together. I joined a company some years ago to support them in enhancing the knowledge. Enhancing the knowledge of the team was what the edict I was given. So what did I do? I went in and I started helping them. And then somebody was struggling with something and I recommended an approach that they needed to use. And they said, oh yeah, I'll write them an email. And this was in an office where the person that they were writing the email to sat within 30 seconds walk. I think it took me 45 to get there because I had to realize that they weren't actually going to do it themselves. And I passed the information on to the other person. No, don't send them an email. Talk to them. The best way to get the output that you need is to talk to the person that needs to be involved in the process. Maybe you need to confirm on email because you have to have something in writing that follows the requirements of your standard operating procedure. But to understand who should be involved in rectifying a problem, the fastest way to get there is to have a discussion. And I don't mean get together 10 people for a meeting where only 3 of them have got any input. What I really mean is talk to the right person first. Get the understanding that you need and help them with the next step. Or maybe they'll help you with your next step. Don't assume just because you're in quality that you've got all the answers. Work together with the team and you'll be much more efficient in the business. And if you're a CEO watching this, or if you're operations, or whichever part of the pharmaceutical industry you're in, remember, not everybody's got all the answers, but not one person has got all the answers either. And that's why we work together. Don't just run off and ask the regulator, how should we do this? Because they don't know either. They have the regulatory requirements, guidelines, regulations, the rules that have to be met. but they don't have the answers to how you need to implement it. And for me, that's the biggest difference. Us in the industry implement what's required. The regulators helping to ensure by delivering regulations and guidelines, giving us a direction to ensure what we do is always going to be for the best of the patient. You're not going to put the patient at risk. You've got a product of the right quality, the right safety, the right efficacy, that it works, that it doesn't make them more sick. So no, your team doesn't have all the answers. But I certainly hope they know where to get the answer for a question that they don't know the answer for. That's it for me for today. So think about it. Have you trained your team? And if you haven't, come and talk to me and we'll look at what we need to do next. Contact me here on the platform we're on. If you're on YouTube, you probably can't actually. You have to go find me on my LinkedIn profile. It's Paul Palmer, Paul R. Palmer Limited. Will get you my profile. And I do have a picture on there, so you'll be able to see me. I'll talk to you soon. It's Paul Palmer.